Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you my 3M Open Championship. This is the Picks and Bets show. We're going to go through a lot of the players, get into some models, some research, some analysis. Going to talk about comp courses, all that kind of fun stuff. So give me a few minutes. Hopefully, again, I can give you an edge this weekend at the 3M Open. And with that said, thank you for stopping by, and let's get into this. Okay, so on the preview show, if you missed, I always go over the key kind of stroke gain analysis rankings that I'm doing and what I think you need to win, the type of golfer that we're looking for. Of course, number one is approach, ball striking. Of course, you can go low at this course, so we're going to need guys that can make birdies and eagles. I'm going to go ahead and stick with driving distance. This tournament, of course, was played twice. And you could argue the first tournament, of course, you had Bryson, you had Wolf, and then, of course, you had Morikawa that were up there. So it kind of leaned you towards, hey, the Bombers are going to have an advantage. And I still kind of feel that way due to the par fives. There's also some long par fours here. And so on the par fives, they could actually, have a lot of eagle chances. Worst case, converting in those with birdies. So that's the way I'm going to go. We also saw, 2020 where Michael Thompson hit amazing approach shots, made a ton of putts, and he won the tournament. He also had Richie Werenski, who, again, you don't really think of as a guy that's a bomber. Last thing is, of course, around the green does show up here. So if you missed the greens here, it is tougher to get up and down. So that's something we're going to look at. Of course, you always got to make putts, but that's a little lower on my ranking. I don't feel like these greens are very tricky. They're not huge. There's not a lot of undulation. So that's going to go a little low in the rank, but of course, we still need guys that are going to do well with the putter. But when Matthew Wolff won here, I think if I remember right, he gained like a stroke with the putter. So it can be done either way. And then proximity of the pin, go with a little longer distance. There's quite a few shots that are going to come in from the 125, but the guys that I think can hit the longer approaches, strokes on the long par fours, and last but not least, how many strokes do they typically gain on par fives? That's kind of the player that I'm looking at, just to kind of reiterate from what I discussed in the preview show. Okay, so one thing I did want to go over, I did not mention in the preview show, is the actual comp courses / tournaments that I'm going to be leveraging, and I'm kind of putting these in two buckets, so not to confuse. So on the left side here, these are courses that all have a lot of water that come into play, but also play tougher than TPC Twin Cities. But I think, if they can do well here, they should definitely be able to do well at TPC Twin Cities for the 3M Open. And most of these courses all have quite a bit of water, ranging from around 15 to 17 holes to 9 holes of water. This one here for WGC Mexico, I'm going to be looking at concession that I think is relevant. But again, as I mentioned, a lot of these courses are also Bermuda. So, the correlation there, is just more about the playability, how they do on tracks with water. The ones that are the right, I think, are probably a little more closer to how this course, of course, scores. So we're going to be looking at the AT&T Byron Nelson, which is TPC Craig Ranch, Colonial Charles Schwab. You got TPC Deer Run, John Deere Classic. You got the Shriners, and then even the Barbasol. It's a par 72. That's Keen Trace. It's a shorter course. It's like a little less than 7,000 yards. But most of these guys just played there. So I think it's applicable on how they did their water. I think comes in a hole on 3 or 4 holes. But yeah, on these ones, water is not as prevalent. But from bent greens, from how the typical scoring goes, that is why those courses are put in. So just so you can understand. So I actually put it in my model with some of these courses popping in here and clicked my rank for birdies. I wanted to see who had the most birdies. You can see that right there. And shockingly, and this is over the last 12 rounds, and Cameron Percy pops up. So, there you go. Chesson Hadley, that makes a little bit of sense. Of course, you got Griot. And again, this is purely looking at the guys who made the most birdies on easier to hit fairways, easier courses to score on. You got Johnny Vegas that pops up. Michael Glickich. I always mess that guy's name up. The Michael Glickich. And Chesson Hadley. So anyways, there's some names if you're just curious on some of these comp courses who makes the most birdies. Okay. With that said, let's go I'll go over some of the research and analysis, and then I'll come back. We'll summarize my FAB Five, the next 5, final 5, and then I've got 4 of my favorite bets for you guys. Okay, so jumping over to Fantasy National. Again, if you've been with me for a while, this is the tool that I use to do a lot of my research and analysis. Again, I'm not affiliated, but I always state, because I do show a bit of the tool, that I highly recommend it. If you are doing your own research and analysis now, and you've never checked it out, I would definitely give it a look. I know they have like a 1 week package just to kind of give it a test run. And I believe Pat Mayo still has like a 20% discount. So leverage him. I have not reached out to these guys to discuss, if they'd want to do something with me. So anyways, just so you know what we're going to be looking at here, I've created a smaller model. So I went over the larger model in my preview show. That kind of gives me some ideas of just guys I'm looking at, but this gives me a more clear focus. And what we're looking at is kind of 5 stroke gain categories, even though I know I went over quite a few. That's the larger model, which you will see ranked here. And, again, I'm going to be looking at approach, off the tee, which, gives you a combination of guys that are having length and hitting fairways. So I'm going to go with that. A lot of times I don't go with off the tee either. I usually go with good drives or fairways gain with, driving distance. But this kind of does the combination, so that works well. Around the green, putting and ball striking. Again, a lot of that from a ball striking perspective. I think guys from the longer distances are going to have to, be well with their longer irons, hybrids. The next key thing, which I did quite a bit for the John Deere, the Rocket Mortgage, when we're looking at tournaments that could get to 20 under or below, where it can become a bit of a scoring fest, I want to see how they were doing on birdies over the last 12 rounds. And then, of course, over here, you got recent results and tournament history. I've got no filters on because, again, I want to pull, and I am actually usually, this is at 12 rounds. I want to get a little larger sample. We've had a couple, majors thrown in here. And of course this, you could look at the current major and it kind of played like, I feel like pretty much any regular PGA Tour event to some degree. But yeah, I wanted to get a larger sample of data. So I turned that to 24. So this is going to be a little bigger than usual what it's pulling. And of course, right off the bat, you got DJ who, had a decent showing at the Open, of course, had a pretty good Sunday. I'll just come straight out. I'm not going to go with DJ purely because I'm expecting him to withdraw. And even if he doesn't withdraw, I don't know. The last time he was here, of course, he shot an 80 and then withdrew from the tournament. This is kind of where he went on his little downward spiral. The next weekend, I can't remember where he played, but he also went out and shot, like 160 for 2 days. And a lot of this was something he was messing around in the range, got in a bad habit, got that fixed, and then went on that crazy run where, won the Masters and was, winning every tournament or coming in second. So not that DJ cannot definitely handle this course. Just, flying back from the Open, I've already kind of stated this in my preview show. I'm going to be sticking with guys more that stay in the States. Now, I'm going to have a couple, don't get me wrong. But I just, I'm just a little bit myself shocked that they're going to stay committed to the 3M Open. And, I've seen where Louis, I think it was at Arnold Palmer, if I remember right, it was one of the Florida swings, literally just like the morning of, just like, I'm out. So Louis and Dustin, the reason why I'm not going with those guys is purely travel. How serious are they going to take this event? Are they actually going to play in the event? What happens if they get off to a bad round? Are they going to withdraw? All of that, I'm just not going with those guys. Now, the first guy I land on is Tony Finau, and you can make the same argument with Tony. I think Tony, he needs a win. I know he's got the Puerto Rico Open. I state that every time. I understand that. But technically, in my mind, he still needs a real win. I'm not saying the 3M Open is the win that he wants, but it's better than the PRO. I think of course, he did well here in 2020. Why on Sunday he could not beat Michael Thompson, I have no idea. But everything about Tony Finau, this course should fit. Again, it's all going to come down to the putter. We can go and look at some of the comp course. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, I have not banged all these guys off the comp courses. Usually I do that beforehand. But with this tournament, I'm going with just really the guys that I know have been in good recent form. I know this course will fit them. If they go out and play the way they typically do, they have a really good chance of winning or being in the top 20. And so that's why. So we're going to be kind of doing this together. I don't know how it's going to come out. But if we look right off the bat, let's start at the Honda. And, first off, let's start with the tournament they're at. I always play. So, of course, as I mentioned, a 3rd and 23rd at the 3M Open, just so you know that. If we look at the Honda, he's miscut there twice, but it was a while ago. And again, I understand that the Honda, the players, all those are tougher events, but I'm just curious on how they handled it. Some guys, if you've done well there, I think you could do really well here. We look at the players, his best finish was the 22nd, but miscut recently. If we look at Arnold Palmer, miscut recently, but a 28th before that. And then I wanted to look at the Mexico. So this is the one at concession that you know, I think it is, let me just confirm. Yeah, so it's a par 72. I believe it is Bermuda, 7,400 yards and waters on 12 holes. So this kind of, again, fits the narrative of the, you know, the course that you have to kind of manage the water. So 14th there. So that's a plus. I wanted to look at the Byron Nelson. So that was a while ago, and that would have been, I think, Trinity Forest. So, you know, I'm not going to really count that. I was just really wanting to see what they did at TPC Craig Ranch. I think there was some applicability there. What about the Schwab? So at TPC Craig Ranch, he had a 20th. Pretty good showing there in the past at the Colonial. I know he didn't play in the John Deere recently, but he miscut in 2015. What about Shriners? The most recent one he had was in 2019. He had a 9th. That's, of course, at TPC Sutherland, and that is, try to remember, par 71, 7,200 yards, water on 4 holes, and I believe that's bent, but off the top of my head, well, we can go find out hopefully real quickly. Yeah, so par 71, TPC Summerland, bent grass. Okay. All right, so that's Tony. Again, you can make that same argument that, hey, travel, does he really care about this tournament, all that stuff, but I believe he does. He's also been in some good form. Let me go back on Tony. I just want to take a look. I didn't really go over. So he does gain on bent. Kind of jumped again on that. Of course, his strokes gain's on the way up. You can see over the life of his career, it's just a putter. We all know that if you follow golf. Of course, at the Open, you know, they didn't have stroke gain data. You know, somehow he can get a total of 7 strokes gained, but we don't know how that broke down. I know his putter, he actually made some putts when I got to see him. You can see he had this nice little block here. I mean, when I say nice, like decent, but again, it was just the putter that's letting him down. So that's all I wanted to look at. Let's just look at the last time he gained. So he gained at the U.S. Open, which was Torrey, and I believe that's POA. It doesn't show up here, but I'm almost 100% sure that's POA greens. I'm just trying to see where his last gain. So WGC Mexico, that should be Bermuda, as we said, a concession. Okay, I was just curious. But yeah, skipping over Patrick Reed. I mean, you know, he missed the cut at the Open. It had really nothing to do with it. And from my understanding, he, you know, this tournament probably does mean a little bit to him. So he missed a cut and then said, hey, I want to go play in the 3M Open now. And I believe it's a bit of things. I believe it's probably Ryder Cup. I believe it's FedEx standings. You can see he comes up second on my model. So around the green, I did mention is important. Even though I don't think his game has been as good as it was, the putter and around a green lately. You know, that T32 at the Rocket Mortgage, the Travelers T25. His real last good showing was at Memorial. So I'm kind of passing on that guy, Mr. Captain America. You know, funny enough, the next guy I'm going to land at a guy that, you know, struggles with the putter, but just this was a guy I thought of, you know, when I saw he was in the field. And Sergio Garcia, the things that he does, you know, you could see, you know, approach off the tee, ball striking, it all is the putter when it comes down to Sergio. He's never, from here, it says he's never played here, which is interesting. I feel like Sergio Garcia has played every tournament at least once. You can see over his life, you know, bent's his least worst surface. I always say that over the life of his career. Just seeing how he's been doing on approach. So last really good showing. So, you know, you see the players, which, you know, is one of those. So we go to the Honda. He had a 9th. He's at a 2nd there. So pretty good showings at PGA National. If we look at the players, he just had a 9th place, a 2nd. So he's done pretty well there. Again, shot making is a premium. Arnold Palmer, he's not played in the wild, so we're not going to really even count that. We go look at the WGC Mexico. Again, this is at concession. The putter let him down. Again, that's Bermuda. Let's go to the Byron. So he's won that, and I'll just click on it. I'm pretty sure that's Trinity, but they've TPC 4 Seasons. That was bent grass, par 70, less than 7,200 yards. Again, that's a while ago, and sorry about that. Need to go back. Okay, so we were at the Byron. So he missed a cut at TPC Craig Ranch, which that's kind of shocking. That course was pretty easy. Yeah, just nothing. Didn't do anything on approach around the green or with the putter. Not a shocker. Let's go to the Schwab. He had a 20th at Charles Schwab at Colonial. Let's see. He's never played in the John Deere, eh? Okay. What about Shriners? He had a 43rd place last time it was played. And then he did not play at the Barbasol. And I'll have to remember to click in the Barbasol. I'm just curious. We'll know some of these guys when we get down here to take a look at how they did at the Barbasol. Matthew Wolf, purely, he's just been so on and off. So we go click on Matthew Wolf, and he maybe a first round leader would be not a bad play with him. You can see he can get hot. Of course, he's won this event. You can see around the green, for whatever reason, he's been kind of missing. His approach from distance is really good typically. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you could and would want to play Matthew. I'm a little nervous on two fronts. So I'm nervous that driver can get wayward. And of course, when he played here and won, his driver was not all over the lot. And I'm worried about him just, having some huge blow up holes. Now, will I play him in Showdown? Yes, I will play him in a one-day Showdown. I'm just not going to roster him. And this is just for your considerations. This is all DFS DraftKings for the Classic for a 4-day event. So just so we all know. And I'm always kind of talking for the big game. I mean, that's kind of, I think it's $200K, $15 entry this time. So my next guy I'm falling on is Tringali. And of course, he was a little off. I talked about this for the Open. A little off with the driver, but let's go. We're not going to be able to tell at the Open if he got it back, but he does gain on bent. You can see he's had this nice spike in his stroke gain. And here's the off the tee issues I was talking about, but the gain 5 strokes, I'm not saying he hit every fairway there, but you can see typically he does hit fairways. I think I mentioned 8 out of his last 9, and then he just kind of all of a sudden out of nowhere just started missing fairways. So with the expectations that Tringali will be hitting fairways, let's go take a look at some of his. So at the Honda, he had a 13th recently. The Player's a miscut, but he's had a 16th there in past. Let's see. Arnold Palmer, he had a 31st recently. And then how'd you do at Concession? Oh, that didn't come up. Let's try it this way. Did not play at Concession. Okay. What about the Byron? Had a 23rd, but that's at Trinity Forest. The Schwab, he had a 32nd. Pretty sure he didn't play into John Deere because he was going over there. Shriners, he had a 19th, and then he also did not play in the Barbasol, of course, because he was over at the Open. Okay, but you could see the Rocket Mortgage, pretty good showing. The Schwab, the Moral. So I like Tringali's game. I'm a fan of Tringali's. People I think have all been waiting for him to go back and fall apart. I think he's, if he gets that driver fix, he's going to have a win here shortly. So if he gets back to where he's hitting the driver, because he can get super hot with the putter. It's good on approach, good around the green. There's no reason. The next guy I'm going with, of course, he had a good showing at the Open, which I did not pick him. Under the weather conditions and what I was thinking, the greens and all that Griot, under typical Open conditions would not be live, but you make it just a regular PGA Tour sunny day event, and he can score. He's very streaky either way. I mean, you can see Charles Schwab had a T8, then miscut, T12. There you go. You can see approach. He's number 1, and that's my number 1 area that I'm looking at. He's a great ball striker. Around the green, a little suspicious, and the putter. If he gets a hot putter, away he can go. All right, so let's go. You can see bent is actually the only putting surface he actually gains a little on, so that's a good sign. Gained almost 8 strokes at the Open. Again, we can't see what that all means, but let's go take a look at the Honda. A couple miscuts, but he had an 8th back in 2018. The Players were, I probably picked him for the Players. I'd be shocked if I didn't, but he had a miscut recently, but had an 11th. It just seems like that would be a good fit for him, but again, it's going to come down to the putter. Arnold Palmer, 21st. So I'd say all those courses, I'd say decent background history. WGC Mexico, he did not play at Concession. Let's see. What about the Byron? Did he play at the Byron? Never played at the Byron. The Schwab. So he had an 8th recently at Colonial. which is bent grass. The John Deere, he did not play. Let me just verify. Yeah, he did not play. Shriners, he had a 34 recently, but a couple miscuts before that. And then, of course, he did not play in the Barbasol because he was at the Open. Next guy, Cameron Davis, this would not be a bad play to come back on. And maybe I should have thought a little more about it. It's typical after a win that you're going to probably, digress a little bit. But what I saw at the John Deere Classic really just put me off. And I did not pick Cameron Davis. The typical narrative also is the guy first time win. You probably don't want to take him if he's playing the next weekend. But yeah, that price tag, that kind of ownership, I think I'm going to pass. Bubba's been in good form. You can see he might have, over the last 12 rounds, out of all these guys, the most birdies gained. Again, a little nervous about his driver getting a little wayward. I mean, these fairways are not super difficult, but because of how much water is out there, you could have some blow up. But you can see right out of this field he's ranking, so that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, honestly, Bubba could be very live. I think I just want to get away from the chalk. You got Bobby Mack, which I think this is ridiculous pricing. This is my own opinion. Some people think this guy is the second coming of Tiger Woods. I'm not that high on Bobby Mack yet. And again, I've talked about this before a couple times that I watched him. It probably didn't help that he was all over the lot with his driver. But hey, he had a great showing at the Open. He had a great showing at the Masters. So it seems like, this guy might be a major player. But for $9,000, it's just not the guy that I'm going to be looking for. But, hits the ball a ton. I haven't really noticed lefties. I mean, this event's only been played twice. Sometimes there's courses that set up better because you can fade against the water. So you could think Bubba. So maybe a build could be Bubba Watson and Bobby Mack. As an idea. I think Harmon's already withdrew. I think he was actually slated to play in this and withdrew. Ricky Fowler, showed some life, had that shot 5 under Sunday at the Open, made the cut at the Open. He popped up at the PGA, a good show at the Memorial, missed a cut at the Travelers. Not so good at the Rocket Mortgage, which is a very simple course. He's the ambassador for Rocket Mortgage. But, I'm actually going to go back to Keegan. And the reason why is not because of this over here. It honestly is not. This would make total sense to me, coming from a DFS played for so long, that everybody was on Keegan Bradley, right? He had that battle with Burns on Sunday at Valspar. And then he kind of, digressed a little bit. I mean, he showed up at the PGA, showed up at the Rocket, missed the cut at the Open. But you can see from a modeling, stroke gain, that he's a good fit. Of course, we all know it's the putter. And, I don't even know what his history here is. So you can see bent is technically his best surface. That's not, of course, the reasoning. But let's go look at the 3M. So he's only played her once. He had a 46. If we look at the Honda, he had a 30th recently. The Players, he had a 29th. Arnold, he had a 10th. So all these tougher courses are getting around the water. As you see, he's had a pretty good showing. WGC Mexico, that is not the one I want. So he did not play at Concession. What about the Byron? He did not play the recent one. What about the Schwab? He had a 32nd, but that's back in 2020. Did he play? He did not. So John Deere had a 26th, but that's not the recent one I was looking at. What about Shriners? Miscut recently. And, of course, he was over at the Open. Let's go look at some of the stroke stuff here. So, overall, he lost a half a stroke against the field. The Rocket, you can see, you can see the Rocket Mortgage, man. If he could have putted, and he is that guy, right? I don't know. We'll put him in the Corey Connors kind of thing. Pretty elite tee to green. Just, can just have awful times putting. It's, you can see he had this little streak here where he was just over, breaking even. And of course, there's the Valspar, the Valero, the Wells Fargo. And you can see as soon as the putter went south again, away, he kind of went down. So it just would make total sense that, we were kind of waiting for Keegan to break through, and then you forget about him. Same thing happened with Sam Burns. If you guys remember, he had that great West Coast swing. We're all psyched about him in Florida. Then everybody forgot about Sam Burns. I did not, but a lot of people forgot. Then, had an 80-1, bet and hit him, and away you go at Valspar. So that's that's my theory. That's why Keegan is on mine. Stuart Sink makes total sense to play here. You can see maybe not the greatest form. I think he's lost a little bit with the putter, missed the cut at the Open. But again, I'm going to go with my Brokeback Mountain pick, and I know you guys that have been following me are going to laugh. Of course, had a pretty good John Deere Classic. I think he shot, 5 or 6 under on Sunday. Starting to make a little resurgence. The guy can get super hot. His putter is elite. His approach has been well. It's mostly off the tee with Patty. We can go look at his splits. He, of course, gains on bent. And, off the tee, as I mentioned, a couple, missed showings there. Approach can be, you can see when he was super hot. And these are a couple of terms we're already going to talk about, so I'll skip them. But Charles Schwab, he had a third. The Byron Nelson, so smaller tracks. Of course, they're Texas tracks, but I'm not worried about that. I don't think that really has a whole lot. I think he just was hitting the ball well. If he goes out and has what he can do with putting, let's just go look at some of those. So Honda miscut. His best showing ever was a 26, and that was a long time ago. What about the players? He had a 35th recently. What about Arnold Palmer? He had a 57th. Again, all tougher tracks. I know that. I was just curious. That's not the WGC Mexico I want. What about the Byron? Okay, yeah, he had a third. We already know the Charles Schwab. He had a third. The John Deere recently had 11th. The John Deere actually, from length, and I believe I think it's almost like the closest correlation. So they're both around 72, 7,300 yards, both bent, par 71. Water comes in on only 3 holes at the John Deere, which I mentioned, like 10 holes. Water comes, but I think it's actually probably one of the Honda PGA National, but again, it's just a tougher course. But I think is good from the water side, and I think the next would be John Deere for me, TPC Deere Run. What else? Shriners. 24th recently, had a 4th once. I don't think, did he play the Barbasol? No, yeah, way back in 2000. That's right. He didn't play the Open, yeah. So, nope, just decided to take a week off. Lucas Herbert, who I was calling a bear, and I was getting mixed up with the other guy. Now I'm losing off the top of my head. You can see the teens here. It's a good sign. The approach makes me a little nervous. Ball striking. Is he just on like a little bit of a heater? You can see ownership right now is not that high, but I'm going to pass. I'm going to go with Matt McNeely. You can see just on a great form, everything here I want. Typically this course is a little longer than you would think for Matt McNeely, but I told you guys about the drought there, right? So funny enough, for the Midwest, they've, like I said, it's going to be a dry course, which hence, you should get a little more distance off the tee. We go look at, has he ever played the 3M? Nope. Okay, let's go look at the Honda. Miscut recently, but he had 11th before that. The players miscut recently. Arnold Palmer, he had a 49th. Did he play a concession? Nope. The Byron, that's a 42nd, but that's a while ago. About the Schwaber, he had a 20th at Charles Schwab. Of course, the John Deere recently had an 18th. Shriners was a miscut a little while back. And that's about it. So, a lot on recent form. I just, I'm going to go with a lot of the guys that have been, had the hot hand. You can see projected ownership is already up there. Fratelli, I talked a little bit about him. I'm not saying he's a major hunter, but no, I'm not getting sucked into that showing at the Open. So I'm going to pass on that, even though he has won the John Deere Classic. So you could throw that out there. Charles Schwartzel had a good showing here, and it's pretty decent form. So again, just not my cup of tea. You can see 12th, everything says, hey, you should play, it's the putter with him, but the putter, and maybe I'm just going back to, the Zurich Classic, the team event with Louis, where he made some good putts. But yeah, I'm going to skip. I mean, for me, if you're going to play Charles Schwartzel, you might as well play Charles Howell. I think they're exact same players. Just in my mind, those two seem they look alike, they play alike, they're built alike. So like if you want to put when I put one in, I usually just plug the other guy in. So the guy I'm going to follow is Luke List. Not too far off from a Keegan Bradley play. Of course, elite tee to green. He's been, you can see the T4, the T5. The guy can make birdies. It's all going to come down to the putter with Luke. And so you can see pretty heavily ownership already projected. Of course, bent is his worst surface, but he doesn't putt good on any surface. So that really doesn't matter. It's just, you can see here, if he gains a little bit with the putter, at Wells Fargo, 6. John Deere, he just was like even with the field, ends up a 4th. The Barbasol, he actually lost. And I think Sunday, if he could have, because I think on Friday, he was either up there or leading when I checked in on it. But I think he had a bad Sunday. Let's go look. I'm just, for my own curiosity, shot a 71. You can see here he was doing pretty good till Sunday came around. Okay, let's go look at some of these comparables and just see how they fall out for little Lukey boy. All right, the Honda. A bunch of miscuts, but had a second back in 2018. The Players, miscut, a 56, couple miscuts. The Arnold Palmer, a 63rd, but he had a 7th way back. So like you can just see, did he actually, that's the Amex. I actually looked at the Amex as a comparable. That was another one that you could maybe leverage. Did not play a concession. What about the Byron? He had a 61st at Byron Nelson. That's interesting. Let me go look at that again. I just want to see, okay. Because that's, of course, that TPC Craig Ranch that he should have tore up. He just couldn't putt. And that's the same with what we're talking about here. Even Paul Meadow, so he's just highly volatile. He's like a Siwoo Kim. It really is right there. John Deere, he had a 4th recently. Again, putted. What about Shriners? Miscut at a 13th and a 15th, so, same thing. And, of course, the Barbasol we just talked about, he had a 5th. Okay, so a little bit of a hot hand and also fits the model where, those par 5s he can really take advantage of. Gary Woodland, I've just been off on Gary, and I'm just, so I'm just, he's just been kind of a fade for me. He's popped here or there. But no, thank you. I'm gonna go with the next guy, Hammer and Hank. You see the model likes him. Excuse me. You can also see been gaining birdies left and right. Of course, everything says that, just like Seamus Power, that he should have a win coming here shortly, if not this tournament. You can also see that with a projected ownership, just crazy. So, on one side you could be like, well, you could fade him, and if he is a chalk bomb and blows up, then you're going to be way ahead of the field. You can also see, even when he was priced in the 6,000 range, that he was still doing pretty well here at TPC Twin Cities. Let's go. You see bent is his best surface, and he's actually been putting in Fuego. So at what point does that stop? If it does, like Wells Fargo, he still did pretty good tee to green. It was just around the green and putting. But, great showing at the Nelson. I mean, all the tournaments here recently, he is on a heater. And it's just, when is that heater going to end? Because it probably will not stay. So I'm just running through some of the tougher tournaments. Of course, he hasn't played in a couple. Missed that one. I'm almost 100% he did not play at concession. So we can go to the Byron. Of course, he had a 17th at TPC Craig Ranch. Did not play the Schwab. Let me just make sure. Yep. Did not play Charles Schwab. The John Deere. He had the 8th that we know about. A Shriners over his life. Really hasn't played. And the Barbasol he did not play. Doug Gim, a lot of people throwing his name out. Again, just not my cup of tea. Could he be very live here? Yep. Chris Kirk's been someone that, definitely could do well here. Snedeker, I'm kind of like, if you're going to play Keegan, you could almost make an argument, why not play Snedeker? Typically pretty, but it's just been off the tee with him. Just not, I want a little more length. JT Poston just had that, lost the playoff at the Barbasol. Lantos, starting to show up a little more. This course could fit a Lanto. Somebody could look at it. I mean, I already mentioned CH3. Again, if you're on the Charles Schwartzel train, I'm a firm believer, hey, you can see what he's done here at the 3M Open. Might be, like I said, a DFS play of putting those, build the lineup with, not the bombers, but, if that's kind of the plotter putter guys, that's a pretty good showing. You throw Richie Wierenski right in there, of course, had that T3 last year. Next guy I'm landing on is Patrick Rogers. You can say he's got the length. He's been, making a lot of birdies recently. He's also been in pretty good form here, trending the right way. Had the T5 at the Barbasol. Ownership's almost at 10. We can go look. I don't know how he's going to do. So Bent's actually his best surface over his career. Let's go take a look at the tough courses. So he's actually done pretty decent at the Honda, just miscut recently. The Players, there's a lot of guys that are better than him that missed the cut recently at the Players, so that's pretty good he made the cut. Arnold Palmer, best shown was a 7th, but a 57th recently. WGC, never played. How about the Byron? 47th at TPC Craig Ranch. And Shriners, a couple miscuts. That's kind of crazy at TPC Summerlin. But you got to remember, and I always got to remember myself, that typically you got to shoot 6 under, 7 under, or you're not making the cut. You can actually play pretty good golf and not make the cut there. And of course, I mentioned the Barbasol. You can see he gained quite a bit with the putter, and it didn't do bad. Tee to green. The round of green is a little suspicious still. But he's had 2 at the U.S. Open. He popped up with a gain in 6 strokes with the putter. Just kind of looking at his putting stats here, just see how often he does the Genesis at Riviera. He would have been a great sleeper pick there. I mean, to get a top 20. Okay. Mito Pierre, I'm on this guy right now. You could also even go, I didn't even look, but Austin Eckroat, right? So this, if you guys remember, this was Matthew Wolff's, I don't know if it was his first tournament, but I think it was either his first or second. Also, same with Morikawa, and they both, crazy enough, almost won the thing. So, you could think about the Austin Eckroat play. You want to kind of go on that kind of, not super debut, but pretty early out of college. Meet up here. I'm just going off the Corn Ferry. But the guy's got the game. You can see off the tee, does well, ball striking. It's a putter with him, but you can see birdies. Also, of course, he had a couple wins recently on the Corn Ferry. He missed a cut in his first tournament at the Rocket when I was actually first kind of on him. Then he's at a T34, and then the Barbasol again. Way easy course, way easy field. But hey, the guy can score, like I said. And these are kind of the courses and fields that I think he could show up and be relative. So while we're still getting 7,600 pricing on him, I'm going to stick with him. I'm not going to go. He's not going to have any of the comparable course history, so there's no reason to even go down that. But yeah, I think but you can kind of see he's not 1 or 2% owned like he probably was at the Rocket. I want to go see. I want to see what the ownership was. All right, so the only thing they have is 4.6% at the Rocket. So a little curious on how that. Okay, Johnny Vegas, been showing some life, right? He had the T2 at Palmetto. Also, somewhat of a comparable. That course was quite a bit longer. One of the longer tracks they've ever played. He missed a cut in 2020, but he has been playing a lot better golf. And he has the length. And funny enough, I think he has some issues. I don't know if it was the John Deere. Yeah, the John Deere. Funny enough, he did not gain with the driver. If he would have gained with the driver, he might even had a better chance of winning that thing. But typically, that's his bread and butter. Good off the tee, pretty good on approach. It's off and on at the putter. We go look at the Honda. He had a 30th recently. The Players, where he had a good showing in 2019, but a 61st recently. Look at the Arnold. He had a 23rd in 2019. I don't know if he played at W. No, he did not play a concession. The Byron Nelson recently at TPC Craig Ranch. He showed up with a 9th. Also, I think he's over 100 to 1 to bet. I have not bet him, but it wouldn't be a bad bet. Just total side note while I'm thinking of it. Charles Schwab, 69th. And the John Deere recently at 11th. Had a 3rd before that. How about Shriners? Miscut, but a 28th. And then he had a 6th at the Barbasol a while back, but that. Okay, Troy Merritt, been a pretty decent form. I'm not going to go through all these guys. Of course, Michael Thompson, past winner. The next guy that I land on that I'm interested in is Adam Schenk. A little bit on the, Seamus Power and Hammer and Hank Laboda, also has come up and started showing some decent form. I'm trying to remember, I guess it was the John Deere where He was right there, and then he had a shot that was like he was at a terrible lie and just chunked it. I mean, it was towards the end. It was kind of like a one hole kind of fall apart for him at the John Deere. But anyway, you see, making a lot of birdies recently. Good off the tee, pretty good putter, good ball striking around the green. Not the best, which is something that you kind of want to have some skill here. But you see, bent his best surface over his career. He had this really good putting performance. Approach was a bit off. The Byron Nelson, he had a pretty good putting performance. But, putter's been doing okay. I don't know how much he's going to have. The Honda, he had a 36. The players he miscut recently. What about Arnold Palmer? He had a 29th, but that was in 2019. Almost sure he did not play a WGC event. The Byron, he had a 34th. Let me go back to that real quick. Yeah, that was TPC Craig Ranch. And what about the Schwabe 65th? The Deere we already talked about. He's had pretty good showings at the John Deere, so keep that TPC Deere run. Likes that place. Shriners. I'll go on more so you can see. He had a 27th and an 18th at TPC Summerlin. And then the Barbasol 15th recently. So I like Shank. And I don't know, is that... Nope, we got two more. Bo Hosler, been playing good golf. Yeah, he missed a cut at the John Deere, but other than that, a lot of these teams, making birdies, does everything pretty well here. The putter, it's going to come down to. Let's go click on Bo. So bent's his best service, almost gaining a stroke against the field when he's on bent, so that's a positive. 3M. He's at a 34th and a miscut here. What about the Honda? A 60th, a 38. The players, a couple miscuts. Arnold Palmer. Not too bad history at Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill. What about the Byron? Miscut recently. Let me move this down just a hair so we can make sure you're seeing. I did not play WGC. The Schwab, a miscut recently. The Deere, actually miscut recently, but a 26 before that. About Shriners, a 34th, and we already talked about the Barbasol there. He recently had a 15th. So, pretty good recent form. I'm going to stick with it. Kyle Stanley, it's just a putter. Also not a bad play. You can see his ownership's up there. Adam Hadwin actually had, 2019 had a 4th here. Really good around the green. Could be good with a putter. You can see that putting, and usually around the green is not bad. So low ownership could be a different play. Brandon Hagee, I'm pretty psyched about this guy. I've already got a bet on him, and of course we're going to talk about that. My favorite bets. He's been doing a lot of birdies. You can see some nice, pop-ups. But what has got me a little interested in Mr. Hagee is, he does gain on bent. It's not a ton, so don't let that big bar fool you. It's, but that is his best surface. But if you go to the Honda and see that he came in second, of course he showed up, but he's also had a couple 21st. That's a tough course, PGA National. Something with his eye with that course, which I think from an eye set should be very familiar to here. So that was one of the big reasons. Let's see. I didn't even look. 3M Open, he's played here once. He had a 46. Never played the players. Arnold Palmer, he's had a 28th. Pretty sure he did not play in WGC. The Byron, a couple miscuts, but that wasn't the recent one. What about the Schwab? He miscut. The John Deere recently had an 18th. Shriners miscut, but that was a while ago. And then the Barbasol, he did not play. So, again, sneaky long. I mean, the guy's not even sneaky. He's just long off the tee. This is usually what probably keeps me off him. Now, let's go, let me look at his approach over the last few. So you can see, yeah, he's kind of like hit or miss with his irons. That's pretty, we'll call that even, but gain a stroke here, gain a stroke and a half here, gain almost 4 at Wells Fargo. Funny enough, at the Honda, he didn't really gain it, but he did it with the putter around the green. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to play Brandon Hagee. He's going to be all over, and I think that's it for my top 15 guys. So let's go jump back. I'll summarize this for you guys and get you out of here. Okay, so my top picks, which I call my Fab Five, going with Tony Finau. I don't know why. Whenever I pick Tony Finau pretty high, I'm just telling you guys this. It usually just does not work out well for me. So I'm kind of almost like a double reverse psychology on myself, where I'm like, okay, if you don't pick him, he's going to do well. If you do pick him, typically he doesn't. But everything says he should do well. It's whatever he's feeling after coming back from the Open. Showed pretty good as he typically does in majors. So I'm gonna go with Tony. I like Luke List. It's like almost team no putt right now. Right here, a Griot, also another no putter. Brandon Hagee, probably a little better putter than these guys, but yeah, I've got him in my top five. I'm feeling it. I'm hoping for Brandon Hagee. I may have just jinxed him, but hopefully he works out. And then Hammer and Hank, Seamus Power can do it. Why not Hammer and Hank get his first win? Then my next five, Keegan Bradley, again, great ball striker, team no putt. Patrick Rogers been in good form recently. Same with Vegas. It kind of fits the bomber narrative that I'm going with. Make a bunch of hay. Tringali, not a bomber, but just solid all around. I like Tringali. If he gets that off the tee game back to where it is usually, he could do very well. And then Matt McNeely has been showing great form. And yes, it's not a short California course, but no reason why he can't do very well here. And then my Brokeback Mountain pick, I cannot quit. I'm sticking with it because I know as soon as I jump off the Paddy Kazire train, even though he's showed a little more life again, same with betting, I'm still betting him. He's still a DFS play for me. Definitely a showdown play. If you're playing showdown, I'm telling you guys, if you can figure out the right day, typically 2 out of the 4 days, he is going to be, if you have him, he's going to be a differentiator. Mito Piera, been kind of on this guy, like his game. A lot like Joaquin Niemann. Funny enough, you watch these guys swing, it's like they were, taught themselves from like the same book. Like it is very similar, and very similar where also he needs to putter. Bo Hosler, just good recent form. Not typically my flavor, but I'm going to stick with everything I've been seeing. Then you got Adam Schenk right there with the Seamus Powers and the Labodas. Could also maybe be his tournament to win. And last but not least, of course, Sergio, who kind of fits into this kind of the guys that I'm playing, right? Really solid tee to green. It's just if they have the hop, so the upside, the putter upside, right? Also, you got Garcia from a showdown play who could be, again, figure out the right day and away you go. And then on to my favorite bets. Okay, so right out the bat, we're going to go with Killer Keith, who's won the Honda, showed up and did well. I believe it was at Wells Fargo, right? And then he also had a pretty good recent showing for a little bit. I don't know I don't know if it's at the John Deere or whatever, but he's had some sparks of life. A great, gains a ton with the driver. Again, it's putter for him. But for an outright bet, 180 to 1, why not? I like that. Brandon Hagee, already talked about. He's 130 to 1. Again, these are all on DraftKings sportsbook. So, I don't know what the odds are right at this moment, but last I checked, this is what I got these guys at yesterday. I think, again, pretty similar there. Got the distance, gets hot with the putter. Could definitely be live. And then Cameron Champ, right? He just showed life at the John Deere. I mean, his first even glimmer of life that I've seen in so long. Of course, this tournament kind of, he's won twice Safeway. And now I'm blanking. Was it Sanderson Farms? I don't remember his other one, but definitely the Safeway. But 150 to 1. Again, if you're going with the whole, take advantage of the par fives, if he could chip and putt and hit his wedges from 100 in, but just to see what he did at John Deere, I'm like, hey, I'm going to jump on that 150 to 1. And then last but not least, Mr. Mark Hubbard for first round leader. He actually shot a 66 at Barbasol. This guy, he likes to book in low rounds. He likes the first round and sometimes the last round to go out and shoot low. Usually a very good putter, but for a first round leader, 80 to 1 is kind of someone that I'm on for just a first round leader. And that's it, guys. That is my 3M Open picks and bets. I hope this gives you guys some different ideas. And also, like I said, that's why I go over a little some of the other guys' analysis, because you might be like, hey, I don't care. I'm playing this guy. I like him. I totally get that. This was more for me of just I'm going with this kind of approach and see if it works. And so if you like what I do, click the like button. If you like the show, of course, click the like button and share with anybody else that you might think this could help or would be interested. And of course, if you're new, the subscribe base just keeps growing, and I appreciate that greatly. Appreciate all my subscribers that have been with me for a while. And all the people that are new, I hope that you like what I do, how I do it. Again, it's pretty much just walking you through what I do from analysis at kind of a summarized level. So yeah, definitely subscribe. You have 3 shows a week, and you can hit me up on YouTube comments. You'll be turn on the notifications. You'll be notified whenever I put out new content. And then, of course, if you got anything from One and Done or any questions that you want to bounce off me, hit me up on YouTube comments or follow me on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. All the best to us. I will be out tomorrow with a show with my value plays, kind of before the lock show that goes over ownership projections, weather, anything that I see from pressers or anything else that I think you guys need to know that I know, I will pass that along. All right, guys, take care. Talk to you tomorrow.